Homelessness 2.0, day 46. It's like 11:15 at night or thereabouts. The reasoning for that, or at least the reasoning for me recording now, is because earlier today, I had to wake up early for. I had to wake up early for my driving course, session, lesson, whatever you want to call it. And despite the fact that I went to bed kind of early, and maybe because of the fact that I went to bed kind of early, even though I went to bed at what kind of felt like an okay time. It was like around midnight, and I didn't feel like I was sort of pushing myself or anything. I woke up at about 4:30 in the morning, and I couldn't go back to sleep. And although I did nap for maybe like 15 minutes before I had to get ready to go do the driving lesson, I never really got any sleep. See, I can't even think right. Uh, and I wasn't really going to plan on trying to do a video until I was done with everything for the day. And so I'm just trying to think, and it's hard. I need to turn the heat down on here. It's melting too fast. So, got up, was tired, stayed in bed for a little bit. Tried to occupy myself, maybe try to be tired, but while awake. Because, it's like, if you think about trying to go to sleep while you're awake, it's really hard to go to sleep. So if you do something else, then maybe you'll go to sleep. It's kind of like a distraction technique or something. I don't know. And it kind of sort of worked. And so, oh, damn it. So around 7:45 ish, took a nap. But then I had my alarm set up for 8, so I did that. I'm gonna put the phone down so I can actually kind of think and talk. Woke back up at, well, I said woke back up. I didn't really sleep anyway, but I got back up at 8. Took a shower, got ready and everything. Headed out to Santa Monica. And it was probably about, I want to say 15 minutes early, roughly. Which is better than, being 15 minutes late. And then, the driving lesson started. And despite my nervousness, it's funny because, the one thing I wanted to do when we got in the car is I wanted the instructor to kind of drive a little bit. So I had that happen while, kind of just talking about circumstances of driving and whatnot for me. And in so doing, we ended up in a spot where it was time to transition over to me driving. Well, ended up in a residential neighborhood that was doing street cleaning. And when I had gotten into the car, maybe 30 seconds before the street sweeper was right up on our ass. So it kind of jump started the whole lesson. Let me turn this just a little bit in a way that wasn't expected. And what's funny though is holy crap, so much. And it's kind of like what I was saying before in another in the previous video. A lot of it came back, and a lot of it came back quick. A lot of it came back really fast. I was a lot more prepared than I thought, a lot more self-assured than I thought. More so than anything, in a way, it was almost kind of bad how well prepared I was. There's this paradox, if you will, of, and we use that term a lot while we were driving, paradox, of, sort of the educated person. Because while they're educated, that also gives them a certain level of confidence that can kind of screw things up. In fact, the Dunning-Kruger effect is kind of like that in a way, where someone who is self-assured, someone who is really, really confident, is often wrong. And, it's like one of the reasons why a lot of times they don't want, like employers, for instance, they don't want somebody who is really well versed in a thing, in the job title. They want somebody who they can train to work their way. Because then they get cocky and they're like, well, I know how to fucking do this, and, stuff like that. So, and so there's some old habits that I didn't even try to think about these. They just kind of happened. Even like positioning my hands a certain way, and it's just like it's really surprising how comfortable I was behind the wheel. And really, the main issue that came from it was me understanding the car. More than anything else. And, because the car, so it was not fully electric, but it's a hybrid. And, it's a great ride. I mean, I was surprised at how well I was able to maintain my speed and how consistent I was, despite not really, trying hard to maintain a certain speed. Every time and I even told him, when I was driving, it was like almost every time I look down, I'm driving the same speed that I was the last time I checked, which I'd say was good, especially because it was slightly under the speed limit. And the thing that the old habit that will kind of dock me on the test is going faster than the speed limit, and quite a bit faster, really, just to kind of maintain speed with the rest of traffic flow. And, I can see why that'd be problematic, because, obviously they're just trying to get you to, they're just trying to see if you can follow the rules of the road and all that stuff. And he was even saying, it's like the fact that, I was doing it right, as it were, sort of a real world scenario, but on the test, they'd probably dock me for some of the things. And so that's one of the things that we were covering, more so throughout the day, a 2-hour session. And there was a side effect of this whole thing that I hadn't really anticipated. And, it shouldn't come as a surprise, but it did. And it's the fact that I hadn't really explored Los Angeles at all since I got here. And obviously it's more Westwood, the west side, and the west side's, rather beautiful and everything, and, it's also, there's a lot of money in that area. But it made me realize, how much I wanted to stay. I really don't want to leave. If I had a car, it would be easier to explore. And so not only do I feel like I have to be part of the problem, but I now feel like I have to stay. And, that's kind of frustrating for a couple of reasons. But, because, Los Angeles ain't cheap. It's really hard to find a fucking place to stay right now. And on top of that, because of the nature of driving lesson and everything, it's like, despite not wanting to spend more money, it's gonna be pragmatic enough. It's gonna be pragmatic for me to do one more 2-hour lesson. So I got done with it, and like I felt good. Like I know that I could just go drive. That's not a problem. The problem is that I have to get a license, and it's good to retest, and I think that's absolutely necessary. I think it is absolutely necessary to challenge your habits, especially when driving a car. And so, like, the two things that I need to work on when driving, and this is a little tactic, a little, what is it? One, a mnemonic, but at the same time, it's a anagram, not anagram. Shit. Acronym. SMOG. SMOG. Signal first, check the mirrors, look over the shoulders, and go. Do that every time you're going to be changing lanes and stuff like that. And that's the whole point of, that is so that you can effectively try to pass the test. And because it's a good habit to have. And I agree. My wallet doesn't agree. And I'll be honest, like, obviously there's some aspects of driving that I liked from it. And then, of course, there were some aspects of driving that I didn't like. And I could see, it be cropping up at times. There was a point where I was stopped at a stoplight. I had plenty of room. Also, there's another thing about that, too, with regards to the stoplights and water's on, is that because of the nature of the car and the way that the braking system and everything works, oftentimes I was too close to other cars, sort of by the book, if you will, where you're supposed to be able to see the bottom, you're supposed to be able to see the tires touching the ground. And I mean, I know that, logically speaking, I know that. And I wanted to do that often. But at the same time, I try to drive as defensively as I can, try to coast as much as I can, especially towards a stop. And when I would brake, the car, the braking wasn't as responsive as I, would expect it and hope it to be. And so I felt like there was either one or two things that I had to do with the car. It was either slam on the brakes or pump the brakes. Neither one of those is good. Neither one of those is what you want to do when you're driving. Let me get a cup for some water. Actually, I already have water in a bottle. Oh, man. And so, it came down to, a couple of habits that need to be changed. Nature of the car itself. Like a lot of times I was entering turns too quickly. And also, just as a caveat, as an aside, look how melted that cheese is. The last grilled cheese I made, which I think was in the last video, I put the cheddar on one side instead of in between the melties, and it didn't melt as much. But I still got good toasting and good browning and everything. This time I got pretty much a perfect piece of grilled cheese, and that cheese is melted really well. So I'm just gonna have to keep doing it that way. I don't know how many times. I might do one more purchase set because again, we got like 2 weeks left here. So the final week is gonna be cleaning, not cooking. So, but he was really impressed. Like he said that within the first minute, after trying to evade the street sweeper and everything, that he felt really confident that like, okay, I don't have to teach this dude how to drive. Because I mean that's what he's normally dealing with. He's normally dealing with people who are not experienced at driving at all. Like I said before, I have 15 years of it, so damn, look how much it's hot too. That's crazy. Yeah. Cheddar in the middle. Empirically, it's better. It worked out better. And it just makes more sense. So, and this took all day for me to really kind of think about it. Because when I was done, I said, all right, screw it. I'm going to go see about this tattoo. And obviously I haven't shown you the tattoo, so it means it's not there. So I went to the tattoo shop. And what I didn't know is the dude that I'm looking for actually is the owner of the new tattoo shop. Which is awesome. But he also wasn't available to come today. He was having some medical issues that was preventing him from being able to work. But we were able to reconnect. I was talking to one of the tattoo artists, is kind of also like his reception, his assistant, something like that, whatever. It's a really small shop. Like, that shop is so small, it's smaller than the bedroom / living room in this building. It's smaller than that. But I was probably there for maybe 10, 15 minutes tops. And just got to talk to the lady who was working there, and then also she had a client that was there, so obviously they had to pay more attention to her. And but kind of like broke the seal, if you will. Like how when you're drinking the first time you pee, you have to go pee again really soon. It broke the seal in that regard. I'm going to be going back, obviously, and I'm getting in communication with him, so be able to maybe make an appointment or something, hopefully in the next couple days or some shit. But so, because of the nature of everything that's coming up, because of the fact that I really want to stay, and I've got to figure out how. I want to get this tattoo. I need to do this other driving test, and then I can do the other driving session, lesson, whatever you can call it. Then do the actual real driving test for the driver's license. That's not happening in 2 weeks. So I want to say I got back here about 4:15. Because despite the fact being tired, I didn't want to go to sleep immediately. Stayed up, played some EverQuest, was raiding with the guild. And once we were done with that, then I was like, all right, I need to take a time. I was kind of falling asleep in the raid. And fortunately, like, the nature of the raid wasn't, too high stakes, and because I was playing a class that isn't generally, one that is pivotal in the success of a raid, it worked out. But it didn't really help me too much about staying awake. So when it was done at like 7, I was helping people get around, because the class that I was playing is a druid, and they can teleport themselves and other people. And basically, I mean, there's people who literally call themselves Uber. Like, there's actual people with actual names in the game that are a derivation of Uber or Lyft or something like that. So You're a taxi. And so I did that, and then parked the character, logged off, and kind of just took a nap. And it's been about 4 hours. And I'm still tired because that 4 hours isn't enough rest. So we'll see what happens after this video. I'll probably be up for a couple hours, and maybe I'll nap again, and I'll go online and set up another driving lesson. Pay that $200, and I want to say $20 or thereabouts. And then also set up a driving exam date. Because I think through the same company, you can actually pay them, and what'll happen is that they set up a specific date for you to go do your driving exam, because then they're gonna come pick you up, and you're gonna drive to the test itself, and you're gonna use that car that you used before for the actual test itself, because you're more comfortable, more aware of the nature of the car. And so I think that's that's a good service. I like that idea. And it's only like maybe $60-$80, something like that. Which, I mean, that's about as much as you might pay a friend or something, depending. Yo, dude, borrow your car for $50. So I can do a driver's test or some shit, I don't know. But, because they have liability and insurance and all that stuff, and they're not just a friend, they're also, professional and associated, and their job is associated with driver safety and education, all that stuff. It's actually a pretty decent deal, I think. Even 60 or 80, doesn't matter to me. That's a pretty good deal. The main issues is going to be, after the fact, getting a car, being able to afford a car and all that shit, so. And then being able to afford whatever else, be it staying in LA or whatever, so yeah, I didn't get a whole lot done today, but I did get the fact that, I learned that I'm a better driver than I, expected myself to be, and that's a good thing. I just have to tweak it a little bit for, the purposes of the test and safety and stuff like that, so. I didn't have a whole lot to be nervous about, but at the same time, it's good to be nervous. It means you care. So there's that, and I'm gonna go in the dark room of darkness. Have fun.